of work was the same.
Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
We will begin tonight with the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We would like to welcome all our guests tonight. Those of you that are on the Zoom call, those of you that are watching via social media. Thank you for joining us tonight as we conduct our business. Unfortunately, once again, the pre-disclosure of hopefully no technical difficulties. If we do come across them, please be patient. We are doing our best to cope with this. Moving on to item A3, I will entertain a motion for the approval of tonight's agenda.
I will make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Okay, there's been a motion made by Director Prowse. Can I get a second?
I will second that.
Okay, that's been seconded by Director Johnson. All in favor, aye. Aye.
Aye.
I'm not sure if Director Stevenson has been able to log on yet. I don't see her, so motion passes 4-0. Moving on to item B1, public comment. Dr. Hurst, will you, is there public comment? Dr. Hurst? Okay, Adam, I see you're on there. I know you're the gentleman who's bringing the public comment. Thank you. If you would please state your name and address for the record. I would just like to remind you, unfortunately, we have a timer in front of us trying to adhere to our policy. We try to keep as close as we can to that. So having said that, the floor is yours, sir.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I sent the PowerPoint. So I just want to speak tonight very quickly, just 2 slides about a global diseases and pandemics unit that we did in CWP about different strategies for going back in terms of items that the district hasn't yet necessarily focused on or implemented yet, that the research that I had students do. These are the top ideas that they found could be beneficial. The whole PowerPoint, which I've given you guys a copy of, the rest of it is just the students' research in other areas that actually the district has done a really good job of implementing. But so I'll just get straight to the second slide there. And this is kind of just the summary of the findings about what could be the most beneficial based on the most recent science. So left-hand column, first item, a focus on double masking and providing enough PPE to do double masking. There's a new variant that you guys are probably aware of going around, this UK variant that's over 50% more contagious than the current variant. And it's something that's already been found in Washington State. And on the far right are the links to some of the research sources that students found. The second in the left-hand column is a focus on ventilation in the schools. The latest science shows that the most dangerous method of transmission is aerosols building up within rooms. And especially where you have people spending a lot of time. And I know at least at the high school, we have 85 minute periods where students are in there. And so that's an important thing, I think, to emphasize, that teachers are encouraged to keep their windows open, even doors open, as well as hallways during passing periods, and teachers being in charge of when the students are passing between classes to have the doors open, and the teachers could also be responsible for closing those once class starts. The third item here in the left-hand column, portable air filters for classrooms without windows. There's especially teachers who don't have windows, or because it's colder, they otherwise can't open their windows. The benefit of the portable air filters is that they can recycle the air in the rooms up to once every 15 minutes versus once an hour. And some of them have this UV light sanitizer as well. And again, it wouldn't be something where the district would need to purchase for everybody, but those teachers who otherwise can't open their windows. The final idea is focusing on, this one might be kind of harder to implement, but mouth rinse, nasal saline rinse before school. It's been shown, according again to the sources from the National Institutes of Health here in the links, that it reduces the viral load in the throat and nose so that there'd be less shedding that would go on to reduce the amount of spread. And again, the whole point of this is this goal on the first slide. If you just bring it back to the first slide and then I'll be done. The whole idea of this is to try to implement these policies so that we can keep students and staff safe while assuring that we will not need to go back to distance learning. It's kind of the whole goal, that we don't have to be going back and forth, especially with the new virus strain that's coming around.
All right.
That's it.
All right. We appreciate that. Thank you very much for your comment tonight, Mr. Shockley.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to item B2. Recognition of outstanding achievement of students and or staff. Tonight, we want to present or congratulate Jenny McCourty, CWAC Athletic Director of the Year. Jenny, I know you're on the call tonight. I just want to congratulate you. As we can see, the Certificate of Excellence, Jenny McCourty is hereby granted an Achievement Award in recognition of attainment of the CWAC Athletic Director of the Year and having displayed qualities of leadership, skill, and dedication. Thank you. We're proud of you. I personally appreciate the efforts that are currently ongoing to get our kids back to participating in school athletics. I know you've extended quite a bit of time trying to get this accomplished, and I appreciate your effort. And we just want to publicly recognize you for this award. So I will let the board members, if they choose to, say a congratulatory word at this time.
I'll go first. Jenny, I think the world of you. I've known you since we were 10 years old. You've been an excellent example in our community growing up and now as an adult, truly the true definition of giving back. And you can tell in the way that the students love you and the way that they flock to you and how they respect you, the great job that you're doing. So I just want to say congratulations, and you're inspiring young girls all over our town to break these glass ceilings, and that a girl can do anything, and clearly you can do it better than anybody else. So congratulations.
I would also like to say something quickly. I know that Jenny had shared with me that there are very few women athletic directors across the state. And not only that, but I think that she's like the, oh shoot, now I can't remember what it is, WIAA chairperson for the year or something also. I mean, besides all the amazing things that she does and the pride that is apparent that she has in Othello and the school district and her job, just so many things, ditto to what so many things that Lindsay said. I think you're great. Glad that we have another strong woman to look up to that's a leader, but that doesn't have to be like one of those bossy leaders. And I think that's amazing. And I think congratulations. I think this is wonderful that they have been able to recognize you for that, and that we are able to as well. Thank you.
Well, I would like to go ahead and tell Jenny again, congratulations for a wonderful accomplishment. I was in there last week visiting with her about the WIAA, and She is truly has a big plate to fill, and she is constantly working and going out of town online, and the line behind me trying to get in to see her was getting longer and longer. So Jenny, keep up all the great work. We're very proud of you. Thank you.
I just have to say congratulations. I could tell you that you have set your standards high for this position, and you are just reaching out for those goals right now. You're just getting started in this and being as the athletic director for Othello. I think you're pretty close on your second year. And look at this already that you're the director of the year for the SWAC and greatly involved with the WIAA. I just see great things coming still. This is just a start, I think, for you, Jenny. Great job.
All right, having said that, I see a big smile on Jenny's face. Hey, the floor is yours if you want to say something, Jen.
Thank you so much. Hopefully, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for the recognition this evening. I'm truly honored. I've said it over and over before, but I believe we have the best kids around. And I'm just excited for future competition and for opportunities in the Othello School District. And I really appreciate all your support. So thank you.
Right on. Dr. Hurst.
I just wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you to Jenny as well. And she has a special place in my heart. I know Jenny and I have this type of relationship where we kid around a lot. But I just wanted to share with Jenny in front of everyone that we really appreciate you and the job that you're doing for our kids, for our athletes, and for our district as well. So you deserve it. Thank you very much, Jenny. Good job.
Thank you.
No kidding this time.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. Moving on to item B3, board member discussions. Director Stevenson, do you have a ledge report tonight?
Yes, there are 3 specific bills that I wanted to point out. House Bill 1121 is emergency graduation waivers. It has already passed the House Education Committee and it's up for an early vote. So the point of this is a waiver for those that are on track to graduate. It's very similar to last spring. This bill would only be in effect for emergency status and for emergency situations. So local emergencies, state emergencies, national emergencies, other kinds of emergencies like that. They wanted to very clearly put boundaries on it and not just have it be all the time. And so the district would have the final say the way the bill is currently written. And only on a case-by-case basis, and it would actually note on their transcript that there were credits waived. So, and then there's also a sunset clause within it. There's 3 amendments that are proposed on it: the date that it was added, the sunset clause, and an audit. None of those have been adopted as of yet, and this is just definitely a last resort option, just to put an extra option in the toolbox. Is very specifically things that have been discussed so far about this one. Chris, did you have? I just don't want to keep going on and on and on if there was anything else that you wanted to share.
I don't have anything else to add to that, Jenny.
Okay. The next one, again, these are not approved yet. The next one is House Bill 1162. This is options for credits and pathways. Right now, there are 24 credits in order to graduate, and there are up to 4 GE credits that could potentially be waived if they still have their core credits and they still have a pathway and a high school and beyond plan. So again, it's just another one of those options in a toolbox. This option would create a portfolio option. So if someone has a lot of knowledge or experience in a specific area, they could create a portfolio showing that it's kind of based on performance is where really what they wanted to focus on. So another local option and more personalized and responsive. And then anything on that one? Okay. Then the last one is House Bill 1126. This is about a simple majority on bonds. It sounds like, and most of this information I got from WASDA, the Washington State School Board Directors Association. They have had this up multiple times. So right now we have a supermajority on bonds where we have to have 60% plus one vote. Simple majority on bonds would be a 50% plus one vote on bonds. So these are for school buildings and all of those kinds of things that are supported by the local area. This is the furthest that this bill has ever gotten in the past. It keeps getting reintroduced and it just keeps going a little bit further up the line and a little bit further up the line. So a big suggestion that they had was that everyone contacts our local legislators and encouraging them to vote yes for this. So I'd like to propose that we as a board write a letter and send it with all of our signatures, maybe digitally or maybe real, I don't know. And we send it to our local 3 legislators. Wanted to see what you think. I see a nod.
Are you drafting up that letter, Jen?
I can draft up that letter. Okay. So I don't want it to be from the board and put the school districts put it on school district letterhead if we don't all approve and are in favor of it. So I saw a nod from Mike and Lindsay. Sharon and Ken, what are your thoughts? You could just do a thumbs up or a nod. You don't have to say anything if you don't want to.
I feel like that's something I would have to see how the community feels. Right now, it's hard times look at the businesses, and I don't want to put a stress on anything like that. So before I sign my name to it, I'd like to have a little visit with some business people.
Okay, that's fine. And it doesn't mean that we would go out to bond. It's just the idea of having that as a possibility. Ken?
I'm the same way. I would have no problem if it was just only my pocket that it was coming out of on the 50%, but we represent a large group and I would like to get their feelings on it first before that's who I represent. So.
Okay. All right, I have no problem with that. I will still draft a letter and then I can just reach out to each of you individually. I know that the timing is essential to get this in their hands as soon as possible, but Thursday? Do Sharon and Ken, do you think that you'll be able to have an answer by then, or should we wait?
Thursday would work better for me.
Okay. Sharon, do you think Thursday will work as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Ken, I'll get in contact with you so we don't talk to the same people. Okay.
Okay, perfect. There are so many other bills that are out there that are being discussed and things, many that apply to education. These were the big discussion things that definitely apply not only to education, but to our COVID situation. And for the most part, the simple majority on bonds doesn't, but and so I just hope to bring more information about all kinds of different bills, or if anyone's interested in a specific bill and wants me to address it here, feel free to email and I can do some research as well. So, okay, that is all for my legislative report. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Director Stevenson, for that. Moving on, I want to congratulate us for all 5 of us completing our board self-assessment. I believe, I don't know if Vanessa's with us tonight, but if she's not, I'm sure Chris can get the message to her to give us a reminder tomorrow to fill our surveys. That way we are holding ourselves accountable and assessing our meetings. Jen, I don't know, bullet point number 3 there, meeting topics for our meeting with the City Council. As far as I know, it's scheduled for February 9th at 6 p.m. Is it our turn to host?
We are hosting, and so we will need to invite them to the Zoom.
Okay.
And we needed to, so one of our requests was that we wanted to discuss where we're at with reopening of schools and how it's going and those kinds of things, because we'll have been in for what, a week and a half, 2 weeks by then or so. And then different precautions I think that we're taking. So I think heavily that will be on the responsibility of the district to come up with some of that presentation with maybe some of our input. Is there anything else specifically that we want to share with them? We could discuss that we are starting to do site visits and we're just having to be creative about doing those, since there was, I'm sure that we are all aware that we still can't meet in person and that we're super annoyed with that. I mean, I'm sure that you're all just as annoyed as I am, especially reading some of the comments.
So yes, in fact, I made a comment in our self-assessment, and I would like to bring that up really quick if we could, just so we could start to take a step to see what we could do.
So the state legislature passed something, I can't even remember what it's called.
Yes, it was on the 15th. Yes. So they bundled all those resolutions together, and that's what the governor was doing. And I wish they would have taken a stronger look at each one of those one by one and taking a look at these, because it's not only just affecting us as a school board, but it's affecting all the school boards within the state and all city councils and everybody that needs to meet. And they're allowing us to have up to 15 students in a classroom, but we still can't meet as 5 board members and staff to properly conduct a meeting. I mean, we're doing it on Zoom, but we have difficult problems once in a while to do it. And I think it's time that we either write a letter to our WASDA association to see if they could have a stronger stance on this position, on letting boards meet in person, following strict standards, basically the social distancing and all the other things. And then also,
I don't want, sorry, keep going.
Also follow up with letters to our local legislators, because that's who's going to have to do it. They're going to have to somehow break that particular one out of the group that they passed on the 15th and take an individual look at it.
Jen, do you have a contact at WASDA?
I do, but I can tell you that every time I'm on a WASDA webinar, they are very clear and loud about that they are complaining and saying, why don't you let it be according to the local numbers? If they have low local numbers, let them meet in person. They are fighting hard for that, for school boards specifically throughout the state, saying, let it be up to the locals, or let's come up with a specific number or something like that. And when they just blanketly passed, and I know that our legislators all did not vote yes on that they were all very frustrated as well, that they in fact proposed other things saying, stop, it's no longer an emergency, or stop giving our governor so much stop giving him all the power, because that's what we've done. That's what at least Senator Schessler is very clear in his weekly emails about. We have given too much power to one of the three branches of government, and that even made it more so and worse. And so I know that I would love for us to write a letter and send it to the governor, send it to our legislators, saying we know that you already are fighting for us, and to WASDA, not just to WASDA, but to all three of those groups. I don't think it's going to do any good, but we need to say it. I think you're right, Ken. I think that that's very true.
We need to be heard, and that's the first step in being heard. So.
Okay.
Who's going to write that one?
I think Ken has the.
Hey, I will work on it. No problem. I'll have it before the end of the week.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Appreciate that, Ken. All right, moving on to item B4, student representative reports. Girls, I think I heard Elise a while ago and Lauren. The floor is yours if you guys have something to report on tonight.
I just wanted to touch on a little bit that, as we all know, today was the freshman's first day back at school. And since I'm leadership in ASB, I got to be there in person with them. And of course, they were like super quiet, you know, they're scared. It's their first day of school, but I can just see that they're so happy to be back in the classroom. The teachers were so excited to be back. I know there were teachers like handing out candy and just, you know, so excited to see the students back again. And I'm really hopeful for this year. So thank you.
I have a couple reports from a couple of the principals. So at the middle school, they said that their first week has gone great, and they're having a spirit week this week, Tuesday through Friday. At Wahidas, their first week back was great. They're glad to have their students back on site, and they have picked up right where they left off. The preschool has had some fantastic weeks of school. They have 95 students in person and 14 online. Their little preschoolers are doing a really great job wearing their masks, and they love their new playground. At Hiawatha, they're also glad to have all their students back. This week they did student assessments in their reading fluency, comprehension, and their math progress. And they said their Hiawatha PTO donated a brand new Thunderbird mascot to the school that you can see on their Facebook page. And as we probably know, the high school, everybody goes back tomorrow. They're going to meet with their Husky Futures teachers first, and then we're going to have pictures. They're very excited to have everybody back. And so that was all the reports I got. Thank you. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask.
I wanted to mention, I was also at Othello High today on campus all day, and it was it was wild and crazy to just watch the excitement and the eagerness and the maybe frightened is not the right word, anxiety. Not just, you know, I think from many, excited was the word that was used multiple times, and it was excited in some cases in a bad way, in some cases in a good way, because excited can also be anxiety. So it was just really interesting. So it was great to be able to see different aspects of that as well. I did want to share when with the other board members, I had talked about the ladder of student involvement. And a while ago, when it comes to student reps, and thank you for bringing that up on the screen, when we were doing a passing of the torch from the old student mentor to the new student mentor and had the student reps in the room. We discussed this and the different where we felt like we were at consistently, we felt like we were, with currently using our student reps, we were consistently around 3 and 4. Wanted to see what other board members think about that, including student reps.
Well, I think if I read number 3 correctly, I hope it's not something that we or our student reps feel they're not here just to be here. And I may be taking tokenism as, I may be defining it incorrectly. I hope they both understand that they have an important role here. And based on some of their own research and a webinar that they attended with you, Jen, their roles and future student representatives is going to be expanded. It's going to be more inclusive of more people. I think it's going to be broader in scope because they are going to the formation of a council and things of that nature. So I hope they don't think that they're here as a token and are unimportant. And if that somehow has been the message that's been perceived, gals, I apologize beforehand. That is not at all the intention. Your opinions, your involvement. Just tonight, you letting us know about 4 or 5 different schools. That's why you're here, and that is important that we hear those things, because sometimes in our busy lives we don't have an opportunity to speak to these principals, and hearing it from you all is part of being the liaison between the schools and the board. So I hope we're trying to climb this ladder. I hope we're moving up from 3 to 4 to 4 or 5 eventually to get to number 8 if this is the chart or the steps that we're going to use. But no, I just wanted to, if there was a feeling that this is just a tokenism while we're here, or if y'all feel this is unimportant, that is not at all the case. Your opinions are very much valued to this board member anyway. Lindsay, can I ask you, I mean, you raised your finger up. I assume you were at this meeting as our new mentor. Is this something you feel that you and the girls and future reps can work on and build upon? Are these enough? Are these enough points that you guys can hit?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I expressed to Lauren and Elise that I want to show up for them in a way that's meaningful and pick up where Jen left off and expand and continue to expand their role in the school board, because sometimes we do fall into the trap of them, being a number 3 for us, where this is just a small example that the student reps expressed to me. When we were in the debate of, do we go back to school or do we stay online? The student rep said, I feel like this is something that directly affected us and nobody asked to hear our voice. Our opinions weren't heard, or it wasn't something that carried much weight, or it didn't matter. And so I never want our student reps to have that feeling on the school board that they're just here to fill a slot and that their voice doesn't matter. And so that's good. That's a big goal that I want to work on with these student reps, is to really let their voice be heard and get them to 8. Now it's a big jump from 3 to 8. So we're definitely going to try and take it one rung at a time, because it's a ton of work, especially on the parts of us 5 board members to get to number 8. Like, it's a big job for us to recognize them in that way. And so that's definitely something that it's on the calendar. We're doing it. We're moving forward. We're working on ways where they can have a bigger, stronger voice and have that equity that they deserve in this position.
Very good, and I appreciate
any ideas that anybody has is so welcomed, because I'm just new to this position, and I joined the school board the same time as Lauren and Elise, basically. So I'm definitely not coming from an area of expertise. So if anyone has any suggestions on how we can improve with what we're doing, I'm open for any and all.
All right, very good. I encourage board members, if we have any ideas, let's share them. Let's work on this to hopefully climb as many rungs on this ladder as we can. Go ahead, Jen.
Before we go on, I'm not sure if we finished the discussion that we need to about what we're going to be talking to city council with. I think it just one discussion kind of led into the next, but I'm not sure we were done. I think that they had requested, because someone reminded me, that they wanted an update on facilities. Again, that would be responsibility of the district to really kind of put a presentation together, but that we would all just kind of check it and make sure, yeah, that's what we want to say, or those kinds of things. Any other suggestions or ideas or direction that we want to go with facilities?
Is this like for future facilities, or?
I think there was a lot of things where we're at with our current facilities, and future dreams as well. Like, what's our goals?
I think we've kind of established some of our needs here lately, and I think that's what we kind of need to present to them too, because we've all identified the high school as needing a lot more right now, and as soon as we can, with additional increases, and a possible another elementary in the future too. So I think we need to bring those needs up again to them, and I think it would be good.
I agree. Okay. Great discussion. Once again, thank you, Elise and Lauren. Appreciate your input very much. Moving on to item C1, I will entertain a motion to approve required approvals tonight. Go ahead, Jen. You're muted. You're muted, Jen.
Yeah, muted.
Thanks. I'm like, I'm always unmuted, so I should, anyway, sorry. Yes, accounts payable, please.
I am here.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Becky. We have 7,000 and change to Flynn BEC.
Roof repair. So there's been some roof patching at a couple of the schools, the high school, and I believe one of the and there's going to be some ongoing maintenance on the roof, so you'll probably see a few more of these roof repair bills.
Likely from the same company, or will that jump around? Do you know? That's probably not a question for you. I'm sorry, Becky.
If it was a large enough project that it needed to be bid, then that would be another story. It would be another process.
Okay.
Okay.
Codable with a K for 8,000 even.
Codable is an online curriculum, and it is for science and technology for the elementary schools, and it's part of the STEAM curriculum.
Okay. 33,000 to Pasco School District.
So Pasco School District provides a full service educational program for a hearing impaired student, that they provide a service that we don't have the staffing to do that ourselves. And that's for, okay. It's for 5 months.
That's 5 months worth.
Yes.
Okay. And then details on Stevens Clay. I think this time it's 15,000.
And that would be a Dr. Hurst disclosure for, that's our attorney. And so he would share probably.
So I can share, I can just speak to that. Actually, the attorney bill has come down just a little bit each month. Last month, I shared with the board that it was 16,000. This month it's right below 16,000. And what I share with the board through email is that, again, we continue to see the majority of the conversations where we're utilizing the attorney is either through personnel items or conversations with OEA. That includes bargaining and other miscellaneous conversations. And then the other bulk of the expenses that we have with Paul Clay is through arbitration and the grievance procedures. There are some other add-ons that I share with the board. There's board conversations that happen, but that's very small. I think that amounted to 2.9 hours of billable hours. And then there's some conflict of interest conversations that have transpired as well. And very few OPMA, Open Public Meeting Act conversations with our attorney. So again, we continue to look at that and monitor that, but we share that with the board and the public every time we meet as a board. So just wanted to share that with everyone as well.
So this is the December bill, is that correct?
This is the December bill. It goes all the way through December 31st.
Okay. Is there a time that we can, just because it was part of that conversation, is there at some point a time that we can, that the district can inform not just the board, but the public also about our OEA negotiations without violating those negotiations, kind of just the status of where those things are?
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that I had mentioned to the board in a session, but I also had spoke to the executive team. And there's been some options that have been presented to us. And one of those options that we're going to look at, we need to talk about a little bit more, just to be very honest with you, Jen. But one of the options that we're going to look at is doing just what you shared, is presenting a presentation format during the public board meeting. So during this time, and just sharing with the public, here's what the conversation was, and presenting factual information. So what are the demands? And then what was our sort of rebuttal and proposal? So again, discussion still needs to happen with that, but we'll be bringing that back to the board and share with you what the decision is going to be. But you're right on point, Jen.
Perfect, thank you. And thank you, Becky, for those details. I would like to move that we approve the required approvals.
Motion's been made by Director Stevenson to approve required approvals. Can I get a second?
I will.
Second it.
Thank you. Seconded by Director Schutte. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Moving on, I'll entertain a motion to approve January 2021 account payables warrants 2.
I move that we approve accounts payable warrants 2.
There's been a motion made by Director Stevenson to approve account payables warrants 2. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Director Schutte. Any discussion?
Yes. I will be abstaining from this vote.
Thank you. All in favor, aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0 with 1 abstention. Moving on to item C3, Superintendent informational items. Are there any questions, or Dr. Hurst, do you have anything that you want to comment on?
Well, usually we have entertain questions from the board, and then we have Becky here that can answer any of your questions.
I didn't have a specific question, but I did have something that I wanted to point out. Can you go into either of those? My comment's basically the same for both months. So right here, the enrollment report, the budget enrollment was 4,499 and our actual enrollment is 4,452. Although it's impossible to completely guess, I would just want to say that in so many other districts that their numbers have been down because of how they've been handling COVID, and families have pulled to homeschool or all kinds of other things. Kudos to the district for having very few of that being our case, and that so many other districts that I talked to on webinars through WASDA, that they're down by hundreds and thousands in large districts, that they're like, we don't know how we're going to budget for next year without laying people off, because they're all going to come back, or they assume they'll come back. And that's just not that of all the issues we're dealing with, that's not the issue that we have to deal with. So thank you to the district for checking so many of those things that's not an issue.
Very good. Moving on to item D1, assurance of organizational performance. Board response to monitoring reports. We will begin with EL3. Treatment of stakeholders and customers. Question 1, all 5 answers are in compliance. Question 2, 4 answered in compliance. 1 was in compliance with the following exception, but there wasn't a response. I'm wondering if that perhaps was a fat finger syndrome, or somebody just forgot to write something down, or I mean, it's in compliance either way. Just wanted to give whoever perhaps had the exception and didn't write it in. Okay, moving on to question number 3. We'll spend a little bit of time here. A failure to involve stakeholders, customers in an advisory capacity on important issues that could impact them. 3 answered in compliance, 2 answered in compliance with the following exceptions. And the comment is, students were not given a voice or a choice in a timeline to return to school during this pandemic. The author of that comment, would you please elaborate a bit?
That was me.
Okay.
And I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. I don't know. That was a complaint given to me not only by our student reps, but by several high schoolers, middle schoolers, and elementary school kids. Not to that capacity, but just saying, no one's asking us if we feel safe to go back to school. No one's asking us if we want to be there. No one is asking us what we think. These are all decisions being made by adults, and right, wrong, or indifferent, the question says, did we take an advisory from the students on issues that could impact them? And I felt like we failed to do that.
Okay, when I saw this reply, and this could be a very touchy subject, in my opinion, because I figured it was our older kids that perhaps might have commented to somebody. How would we, unless we rewrite this policy to have a pandemic element to it, I don't know that there's, again, I'm not trying to belittle any of our students, but I don't know that we would go to a first grader or a kindergartner or a second grader and ask for their opinion on a reentry back to school during a pandemic. So I almost feel that the policy would have to be rewritten, I guess. And none of us were ready or anticipated anything like this. So I think we should have a discussion on what we do or how we change this. And Chris, I'll ask you at the end to give us some input as well, if you want to stand by.
I mean, I understand that, like, that there are some decisions where, right, I'm the mom, and so I don't ask for my kids. My kids don't make the rules at my house. Like, I make the rules. But for this specific question, it says a failure to involve stakeholders, customers, who are our students, in an advisory capacity on important issues that could impact them. I can't think of a bigger thing to impact them than not being able to go to school. And so I think we should look at rewriting some policies for specific pandemic issues, because outside of the pandemic, this wouldn't be applicable. But in where we're at right now, I mean,
It's a great discussion. Yeah.
So I've always been maybe frustrated is the right word. I'm not sure. Stakeholders, what exactly is the definition of stakeholder and what's the definition of customers? And so it was always described to me what they were, but they're kind of, sometimes they're, maybe we need to change those words. So when I wrote my answer and I voted for in compliance, I felt like the terms stakeholders and customers were adults in our community, not students. And so customers could be interpreted as adults or could be interpreted like Lindsay, it sounded like you had said your opinion was that customers were the students. And I'm afraid that sometimes the way that we use those words are take us too far away from who is it we're talking about.
yeah.
Oh,
Agreed.
maybe if we were to modify those words, stakeholders became community, customers became students, then
I could be wrong here, Jen, but
very valid, Lindsay.
I think when we did this, and I could be wrong, but I'm thinking a stakeholder could be a stakeholder, not a customer. A stakeholder was a taxpayer, someone who contributed with their taxes yet was not a customer of the district. Customers, I think we put them in a category where a teacher could be both a stakeholder and a customer because they contribute with their taxes and yet are being serviced by the district. So I think that was the definition of when this was put together. Now, I am not trying to discount the voice of our high schoolers, but I think this will take some further consideration in a rewrite or an amendment or a clause or something to that effect. Chris, what's your opinion on this?
Thanks, Mike. I just wanted to share just a couple of things. One, thank you, Director Prowse, for sharing about the student voice. I think that's always important. I thank our student reps as well. One of the things I wanted to share with you, again, the definition and conversation around stakeholders. I appreciate the conversation. I do agree. I think we really need to crystallize and clarify what that is. So when I think of stakeholders, it's really all inclusive. And then when I think of customers as well, but that's my definition. But I would appreciate it if the board could really clarify that. One of the things I will share as well, as I look across the 4 or 5 years that I've been here, that we've been working together as a community, there's been considerable work done in involving stakeholders into the conversation and bringing them into the conversation. And then we said as well, this is an outlier. This whole pandemic is an outlier, and there have been very prescriptive details and documents and mandates coming down from OSPI, from the governor's office, and from Department of Health, including metrics, and that have really guided a lot of our actions. So for the students who are listening, certainly this is never an attempt to exclude you from the conversation, but I think we all need to realize that this is an outlier, and there was a lot of mandates that were prescribed to not just our district, but every district. So I wanted to just share that. I think if you look overall, over the 4 years, and especially this year, we've done an excellent job in advising people on a lot of matters that pertain to them in our district, and not just pandemic. And even when we think about the pandemic, when you think about the communication that has happened and bringing people into the conversation, overall, looking at all of our stakeholders, I think we've done an excellent job. So I understand the perspective that students feel like that we could have asked them but if you look at stakeholders overall, I think we've done an excellent job. So I just wanted to make sure we clarified that as well to everyone.
I think even in this instance, I think there was a couple times when we would ask Elise and Lauren what they thought. Maybe this could be one of the things that we try to improve to where if we're ever in a situation like this that we feel merits further feedback from more people, not just the high school perhaps, that we charge them with maybe some sort of research or an assignment to encourage fellow students to be more involved with their parents and make their opinion or voice heard at home, to the ones that are making the final decision, or the ones that have more of a say, or the ones that vote, or the ones that, like you say, Lindsay, you set the rules, you know. But I think this is definitely something we can improve upon. This is something that, man, I'm trying to find wood here. I hope once we're past this, we never have to go through this again, but that's not likely the case, unfortunately. But no, again, like Dr. Hirsch said, there was a lot of these decisions that were taken away from us. We've made a concerted effort to try to rein some of those things in, and I think we're in a good place today. But no, I would when this comes around again, if there's a brave one that's willing to amend or include some different verbiage, definitely welcome. Jen, I know you're chomping at the bit.
Sorry. So there was something specific when Chris was talking that I realized this is in reference to how the district did for this specific thing. I think, Lindsay, some of the things that you were referring to were because the board was ultimately the one that chose if we were going back and when. Maybe it's, I'm not sure if the out of compliance or the in compliance with an exception part would be to the district or to the board with using that advisory capacity. And so this specific EL is to the district.
Yes, and I believe we have one that's similar for the board response too. And, you know, Lindsay, I would have to agree with you on your statement by not involving all the students. But on these reviews, I've had many of these that come up that I just have had a problem really answering because they really weren't wrote for this pandemic that we're in. And it's been a struggle to really answer some of these. So, and to rewrite them, we would just be back here again in a couple of years saying that, well, the pandemic's over, you know, we have these other situations. I just hope that when we review all these responses at the end of the year, that we remember this and then we make adjustments for what we need to do and take in consideration some of these policies and how they're written and our responses to them.
I guess I'll ask Lindsay, even though they're in compliance, the exception, is the statement, how do I say this? Because I know this is not your intent. I really know it's not. It's not meant at docking the district for a failure here, is it? Like Jen says, is this something that you're maybe asking is in there as an awareness to us, as an eye opener to in the future, not let this go by unperceived and that we don't pay attention to this? Because again, we're learning as we're going through this, and I'm sure, God, Ken said a couple of years. I hope it's way sooner than that and we don't have a pandemic. We're not having or dealing with these issues. So I mean, the question, the EL will be in compliance, but do we keep the comment there as a reminder for future betterment of the EL, or?
May I add another comment, Mike, just for the board to consider?
Okay.
Just one more item just for the board to consider. I just ask that the board to consider everything in totality. I know we're talking about the pandemic, but there are decisions that are being made every day in the classroom that I would think would pertain to this. So when I think of important issues, I'm reminded of decisions that our teachers are making, say, for instance, in a math class or even an art class. And as I was sharing, our teachers and our administrators do a really good job in asking students and advising and getting their input on these different decisions. So I know we are focusing on just the pandemic, but I just want to remind all of our board members that there are literally hundreds of decisions that are made on a regular basis every day, where, as I shared, our teachers and our administrators are doing an excellent job in inviting students, parents to the table for their advice. So I just wanted to bring that to everyone as well.
I guess for me, I'm really trying to just unpack this a little bit to see where, if like you're asking me, Jen, if this is really like a school board thing or if this is a district thing. And maybe at the end of the day, I hate to use the word failure, but the A- instead of the A+ perhaps falls on the school board versus the district, because of our lack in, and I'm especially sensitive now because I'm the new student advisor or the student mentor. And so I'm really trying to hear our student mentors' voices in this and say, their complaints are not falling on deaf ears. And so the A- perhaps falls on us in not listening to what they had to say, or getting their voice heard on something that impacted them deeply. So I'm fine with removing my comment. It is so difficult because there are certain things that are just like so specific to the pandemic. It's hard to navigate sometimes.
I just like to remind us all that the overarching statement on the EL, as I read it, the superintendent shall not fail to ensure that stakeholders and customers are treated with respect, dignity, and courtesy. And I think that was fulfilled. Again, this is a situation that none of us were prepared for, and we are trying to, I think, like you said, Lindsay, this is bringing awareness to us. This is learning. So Lindsay is okay with withdrawing the comment. I'm also in favor of taking it away. Is there anyone else that agrees with that? I see some head nods. Okay. I commend you, Lindsay, for writing that down. I mean, I really do, because like you say, it is something that you're intricately involved with now. And this is part of, why you're in that position, bringing those things to the forefront. So thank you for that. Moving on to question number 4.
Lindsay, thank you. I agree with you that I think that it was a smudge on our record that we didn't do it. You're totally right. And we can definitely do better. Thanks for bringing that up.
Moving on to question number 4, all 5 answered in compliance. Question number 5, all answered in compliance. There was an additional remark. There is always room for improvement, but keep up the good work. I would echo whoever wrote that. There's always room for improvement, but I think we are doing a good job as we're going through this. EL4, a failure to recommend salaries, competitive compensation. Question number 1, all answered in compliance. Question number 2, likewise, all answers are in compliance. Question 3, all 5 are in compliance, as is question 4 and 5 and question 6. Question 7, the entire EL was answered in compliance. There are no additional comments. I appreciate everyone's prompt answers. to the Survey Monkeys. Thank you very much for that. Moving on to item D2, board self-monitoring. GP10, board member compensation and expenses. Question 1, I will take the time to read these. Each board member shall receive his compensation for his or her services, the sum of $50 per day and not more than $4,800 per year. All 5 answered that we are in compliance. Board members shall have reimbursable out-of-district travel pre-authorized by one of the following persons. Board president or vice president. Pre-authorization is not required for in-state attendance of meetings or training sessions sponsored by the Washington State School District School Directors Association, WASDA. 5 answered in compliance. When board members incur expenses in carrying out their responsibilities as board members, they may be reimbursed from the district funds upon submission of vouchers and supporting receipts consistent with district requirements. All answered in compliance. In order to maintain its commitment to excellence in governance, the provisions of this policy, and to improve its own performance, the board commits to the following actions. There was a comment that says, for continued transparency, fulfill the requirements of GP10 when asking for reimbursement. I put that comment on there to remind ourselves that if we're going to ask to reimburse, that we provide the proper documentation to comply with this GP. Thank you for that. Moving on to item E1. Chris, is this the final version, or Jen or someone, could you remind me if we're just going to keep this here and it's going to continue to be modified as things happen?
This is the final version
Okay.
Until we change it.
until it's changed by the board.
All right. So do you need a motion on this, Chris, or it's informational?
We do need a motion.
I move that we approve GP 7.1
Final
agenda.
reading. Okay, there's been a motion to approve GP 7.1 final reading. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Director Prowse. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. All right. There is no need for an executive session. There are some upcoming events. February 2nd, we have our board visit to Desert Oasis. On the 8th of February, there is a public hearing, the proposed sale of real property. On the 8th is our regularly scheduled board meeting. And on February 9th is our joint school board city council meeting. And the times are noted there. Again, we'll get a reminder tomorrow. I'll give us our first reminder tonight. Let's do our Survey Monkey and assess our meeting. And our business is completed and done here. Thank you very much to those who are online or those that are on the Zoom call. Appreciate it very much. Business is concluded and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.